I'm from Toronto, Canada. Right now I'm in Japan and I'm taking online lessons in Tokyo.
I come from Vietnam and right now I'm living in Vietnam. The time I take the class 11:40 to 3:30.
I'm from California originally, but I'm currently living in Germany. For me, the class is from 6:40 a.m. to 10:40 a.m.
I live in California now, so the class starts at 9:40 p.m. and ends at 1:30 in the morning, and I go to sleep right after.
I think the toughest challenge for taking an online class is maintaining that motivation. So you have to take the initiative and you have to be determined to, taking the time and the effort to study on your own, which is, of course, can be challenging at times. But then at the same time, because it's an online class, so you save the time that you need to commute to class. So you have more free time to do the actual studying instead of going to school. So for me, it's a toss-up, but overall, I think it works out.
I think because I'm taking level 1 at the moment, the beginning level, so I don't have any challenge at the moment. For preparation or the self-study, it's okay for me because I think the textbook are really great. At the end of the lesson, they will have the review or something, and I can also I can read over the textbook and listen to the file. It's okay for me. But I agree with Wilson that the most challenges is the motivation.
I believe the hardest challenge right now is keeping focus. Since we're taking an online course, we're in the comfort of our own home. So we have a billion distractions. So it can be really difficult to focus on the lesson at hand. Just try to remember the more you focus now and pay attention in class, the easier the review will be afterwards. And I do believe that's the hardest challenge for it. If we were actually in school and taking lessons, then I guess the challenge would be speaking up and asking questions. I know a lot of people, including myself, are sometimes too shy to ask questions, and then we just leave it to the rest of the class. Most of the classes I can ask questions, but when our schedule changes, depending from going from lesson to lesson or review, then sometimes it's harder to ask the questions because we're trying to get through our study guides and things like that. But the more we ask now, the more knowledge we'll have later.
The biggest challenge for me, I think, has been, I don't know, I think this would happen in person anyway, but sometimes I don't understand the grammar, and can be hard to ask, why can't I say this, or why is this wrong, or why is this right? It's not too hard to learn the example sentences, but if you want to say something different, sometimes it doesn't work, and it's hard to understand why. So sometimes it can be hard to get an answer to a complicated question. Yeah, as for online, I haven't found too much trouble with it at all. It's like Wilson, it's nice to not have the commute. I have all of my things, I can make study guides and study on a computer is really convenient. I can make flashcards during class because I have my computer with me, so it makes it really easy to study the vocabulary. Well, decided to take courses online because I couldn't come to Japan. I wanted to take courses at all. I think I might want to live in Japan. So I wanted to stay for a few months on the student visa to see if I liked it. And I think even though I have to study online, I will still come to Japan for maybe 6 months on a student visa. And this way will know more Japanese before I get there. So maybe I'll like it more. I visited a class before I started, so it's about what I expected.
The reason I started taking the online course was actually because it was added on as a requirement for my visa to Japan. So that was the original reason, but I'm actually glad that we did start the course this way. I found it really fun to have this experience and learn Japanese while I'm still here in Germany and prepare myself for when I can move to Japan. Let's see. It is a lot different than what I imagined, but my mind is catastrophe oriented, so I always imagine the worst possible scenario. And from day one, I was expecting to not understand a single word from the teacher. I was actually quite happy to see that it was a pace I could keep up with, and it did challenge me to improve. I would prefer that I was actually in a classroom in Japan studying, but I do think this was a great idea while I'm stuck here in Germany. I do prefer that I have this option to study.
The reason why I'm taking the online lesson is that I cannot enter Japan at the moment like everyone else. And I think the online class is quite suitable at the moment, and I quite like the online lesson. At first, I said to you that I'm not sure that I like the idea of online class, but when I started learning the online class, I quite enjoy it. The teachers are doing their job really well, and if I can enter Japan, and if the situation gets worse, I think that the online class, I would take the online class again.
Yeah, so for me, my situation is a little bit different. I think out of everyone here, I'm the only one who's physically in Japan right now. And when I first signed on for the class, I wasn't expecting to take an online class either. Like, I was expecting to go to school every day. But obviously, because of the pandemic, there are safety concerns. And I actually think it is a good measure because I went to Kai school a couple of times, and I commute there back and forth. It usually takes me about like half an hour or so each way. And it is a lot of people. And given that, like, you know, the coronavirus pandemic situation that is currently in Japan and worldwide, I think it is much safer to take online classes and stay at home. Because you don't have to worry about, you know, keeping your social distancing even when you're commuting. Like for me, I have to take the subway to go there, and it's always very busy. And if you have, you know, to walk there or bike there, then you have to, you know, like carry a whole bunch of books and iPads and things like that. So actually, at this moment, I prefer to take online classes. And with expectations, I've taken other online classes before, so this is not much of a difference. I actually find it quite well prepared, given the materials are all available online, and the textbooks and everything. I thought like the course materials were well planned and given to us in advance. So I actually like the format quite a bit.
What I like about the online class is that I can stay at home, but I can still learn in Japanese. Like, I don't have to spend a lot of time for traveling like that, so I can just stay at home and learn. Anything that could be improved is that I think I need more listening material, listening practice. Like if I am in Japan right now, when I learn something about the price or the question like something wa doko desu ka, then I can actually go to department store or the market, and I can practice those questions. But now I'm in Vietnam, so I cannot do that, and finding a suitable listening material is really hard for me. So yeah, that's why I need more listening practice or listening exercise. Yeah.
Like I said before, I like the online format quite a bit. I think it's working well for me personally. I would echo what JT-san said earlier, as to sometimes it is difficult to pose questions to the teachers in Japanese, especially when I have to explain something that is difficult for me to try to say it in Japanese. And then it's the same as well for the teachers to try to explain a difficult concept to me in Japanese when I don't really understand it. So I think maybe if there's a channel for us to pose questions in our native language and then just get our answers afterward, and maybe that would help a bit.
I appreciate having access to all the material in advance. It's cool to have it all laid out in iTunes. You can go see what vocabulary, So I use the flashcards to learn vocabulary, and I can add more vocabulary from future classes. It's all in if I want to know when will we learn how to say something, you can look ahead. So that's pretty fun. Things that could be improved. It can be really confusing sometimes to keep track of what homework is due, and sometimes when it's due, especially because the date changes halfway through class for me. And sometimes teachers will assign something and say, please do this tonight. I'm like, I want to go to sleep in 10 minutes. Can I do it 2 hours before class? Well, they don't want to grade it. So that can be kind of confusing.
I like that the class is really organized, and you can tell that our teachers really do want us to succeed. What can be improved? I think it would help a bit to start practicing kanji writing maybe 2 weeks earlier than planned in the current lesson. And also, I agree with Fue-san regarding more listening practice. Since we aren't in Japan right now, other than Wilson, we don't have the opportunity to hear people speaking in the native tongue, and I think that's a big handicap for us. I actually interact with my classmates a lot more than in any other school I've been in. We do have a separate class iMessages group where we ask each other questions or homework or just see how everyone's doing, and I think that's been really helpful in improving the learning process.
I really enjoyed the iMessage chat. It's a lot of fun. We ask grammar questions there sometimes too. In class, the most frustrating point in class is sometimes the teacher will say, you can tell if we were in class, the teacher would say, everyone repeat after me. And then we would all say it at the same time. And if everyone was good, we would move on in 10 seconds. But in Zoom, if you say everyone unmute at the same time and talk, it's a mess. So you have to say, Wilson, Hui, Natalia, everyone one at a time. And it takes a minute. It's fine, but a little slow. And I don't know, I was really looking forward to making friends with students. I wanted to go on weekend trips and go get dinner and things. So I don't know, I hope we can meet up once we do get to Japan, whenever that is.
So I agree with both Elma and JT. The social aspect of learning is very important, and obviously, given the pandemic and the situations in Japan right now, it's impossible. But I think overall, together, all of us as a class, we find other ways to connect with one another, even before or after class, doing the iMessages and things like that. And I find that everybody is very friendly and supportive of one another. So overall, yes, I agree with JT. It would have been nice to, see and meet all of my classmates face to face, but for the time being, I think it's pretty much the only thing that we can do.
I don't have anything left to say because they all said what I want to say. Yeah, I do chat to them, and it's quite interesting, and I believe that when we can meet up at school, we can be a good friends. I think the most important thing for you to study online is that you need to have a good internet connection. And if you are taking level 1, then it will be all right, because everything is prepared for you, and you just need to have a little motivation to follow the lesson, and it's just like that.
I think for me, I would actually recommend people to take online classes at this point, especially if you're taking, beginner level Japanese, because even if you're in Japan, it's going to be very challenging if you don't know any Japanese to try to interact with other people anyhow. So I think for the lower level courses, it makes sense to take online classes because, like even if you're in person, it's very unlikely you'll be interacting with anyone else in Japanese anyway. So for me, I think it works. And also I think there's benefits of staying at home and then trying to study on your own because it does save you a lot of time. But then, like everybody else has mentioned, the most important point is to stay focused and, just if you're going to do it, make sure you do it because otherwise it's going to be a waste of time for everyone.
So I tried to self-study Japanese for a while, and I learned I got okay at some beginner level stuff. But I wanted to say that the online course has been really good because they make you practice a lot more than I practiced. I would learn grammar really fast and then not practice it and then try to remember it in front of a Japanese person, and it didn't work at all. So I really appreciate that the class makes you say it over and over. It's been good to have the curriculum and the practice. As for tips for someone who's going to take an online course, the hardest thing for me has been maintaining a daily schedule because it's on my computer. It's very easy to be like, I play some video games, I take a Japanese class, I'll do my homework eventually. So I try to fall asleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, do homework at the same time, and maintaining that routine. Even though I'm in my bedroom for 16 hours a day now, having times to do everything makes it much better.
Like JT's son said, I also did a lot of self-studying before this course, and I feel like with the self-studying, I wasn't really getting anywhere. It felt like I was always stuck, and once I started this course, I've actually started to see a lot of progress and improve my own study methods. So I don't think you have anything to lose by taking the online course. It's only a chance to gain more information, more knowledge. As for tips, I would say communicate with your classmates and make sure to review the lessons. As long as you do those two things, you're sure to succeed in the class.
さよなら。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
さよなら。また。
さよなら皆さん。